time to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Oh, yes.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Ricky Meese.
Traffic on the Valley freeways looks great. No accidents, no delays. Our main secondary is also clear. We are expecting delays this afternoon. Traveling westbound on I-80 near 5600 West. That's due to lane restrictions for bridge work. Break your routine and into adventure in Cedar City, Bryan Head. Connected to nature, City Cedar makes spring the best break ever. Shopping, dining, and recreation galore. Break up your adventure. Visit cedarcity.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
High today looking to get 69 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's high expected to hit up to 79, but on Friday, we're looking at 82 degrees. Saturday, we start to come back down to 73. By Monday, we're back in the 50s. Right now, partly cloudy skies and 64 degrees. I'm Virl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
As the trade war between the United States and other countries continues to escalate, President Donald Trump is encouraging Americans to be cool. Just be cool, everybody, as things move forward. Earlier today, though, he surprised everyone, I think, by putting a 90-day pause on the tariffs. The market is going gangbusters in response. It is already up 6.5% nearly. A lot happening here. The big question today is, what is going on? Welcome to KSL Inside Sources. I'm your host, Taylor Morgan, here with Adam Gardner. I'm a partner at Morgan May Public Affairs, a local consulting firm. Adam, introduce yourself. Tell the good people what you do.
Hey, I'm a lobbyist in town. I'm a Salt Lake City, Utah-based firm.
Former public official?
Former public official, and I just do lobbying now.
Big fan of baseball?
Yesterday, the Bees opened their new stadium in Daybreak, about a mile and a half from my house. I bought a half a season and took my family, and my kids absolutely loved it. The atmosphere, the baseball. It was a great game.
I saw you there, and you were wearing, I think, one of your kids' Bees jerseys. It was quite tight. It looked great, though.
I have said anyone that wears skinny jeans is not allowed to comment on my jersey size. But it was a great
I'm not sure if you're talking about my pants or not, Adam, but
it was a great game, a ton of fun, and it was kind of nice just to take a beat and take a second away from all of this that's happening, all of the tariff wars and the stock market.
Okay, well, let's talk about this, even though we'd prefer to maybe talk about baseball. Let's talk about the tariffs. When you saw this morning the news that President Trump was putting a 90-day pause on most of these tariffs, what was your unfiltered first reaction?
Why didn't you just do this at the beginning? Honestly, if you're going to go after and Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, came on and said, guys, this has been the plan all along. No, it hasn't been. Like, you could have done these deals without threatening everyone and putting these crazy tariffs on and making the stock market completely crash. So I don't believe this was the goal all along. I believe that Trump was just saying, we're going to just do a ton of stuff, see what works, and at the end we'll claim victory no matter what the result is.
Right.
So we saw him, and a little background, Taylor. On Sunday, Bill Ackman, the Oracle investor, came out on Twitter and said, hey, the whole country's behind you, Donald Trump. We love what you're trying to do to restructure the market. But I think you should call for a 90-day pause. in tariffs. So that went wild.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy who was an anonymous account called Walter Bloomberg, and he tweeted, breaking on Monday, the president is considering, the White House is considering the 90-day pause. Then the stock market jumped. So it was in a free fall on Monday morning, and then it jumped after that fake tweet.
Interesting.
They went to the White House and said, can you confirm this tweet? And they said, no, we're not considering it at all. And then the stock market plunged. And here we are 2 days later where he says 90 days. And that number 90 days is very interesting because it came from Twitter. That's where it originated from. This wasn't like an idea in the administration. This wasn't the plan all along. Twitter came up with the idea, and it seems like Donald Trump followed it. Glad he did.
It is wild what can influence an outcome. We, speaking of tariffs and President Trump, Adam, we are going to break live right now to President Trump speaking about a brand new deal on tariffs with China.
But we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And it's it's like a patient is sick. You have to do surgery. Patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions. Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking their mentally insane and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing a fantastic job in removing them. And now the courts, the Supreme Court just gave us numerous good rulings where we have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over, they want these people coming back. Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, did you call the police? He said, yes, I did. Put your hand down, and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back now. And I want to thank the president of El Salvador for the job he's done, because that's the way it has to be done. And it's too bad. Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be. There'll be nothing like it, and people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars. We've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't pay that. We had 3 cancellations in Mexico, building a plant. They're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in. From China, they're coming in from everywhere. And that's just cars. We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants, and mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant when you spend the kind of money there. That they're going to go $200 to $300 billion, not million. You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not. $200 to $300 billion. Think of that. $300 billion. If you look at Apple. Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China. And that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And, you know, interestingly, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy, they they've wanted to do this for years, but they never had a president that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Was it the bond markets that persuaded you to reverse
No,
course?
I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had. Well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America. We're liberated from all of the horrible deals that were made, all of the horrible trade deals that were made. And I was helped by people just like this, senator, congressman, and friends, right? And we had great help in the Senate. Our Republican senators have been amazing. They stood tall. And likewise in the House. And John Thune has done an amazing job. Barrasso has done an amazing job. I can't think of a senator, really. We had tremendous support. We got a bill passed the other day with almost unanimous support in the Senate, and I think we're going to get that in the House too. And I have to tell you that Mike Johnson is a great speaker. He's done a fantastic job. We had a majority of 1, now we have a majority of 7. And you don't realize how big 7 is until you have a majority of 1. 7 sounds like so much, but we're doing well. But Mike Johnson and John Thune have done a really great job.
Mr. President, was there anyone who influenced your decision? Did you speak with anyone, Jamie Dimon? Did you speak with anyone?
Well, I watched Jamie Dimon on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning, and he was very good. He said that, actually made the statement to effect that something had to be done with the tariffs and trade. He said that. He said, look, at some point, but he said something has to be done with tariffs and trade. He understood it. He's very smart and very a genius financially. He's done a fantastic job at the bank. And he knows that. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's even a little bit smart knows it. It wasn't sustainable.
And that was President Trump speaking live, taking questions from the press, standing outside the White House. Adam, you reacted to one statement by President Trump, and I want to talk about that. What President Trump said was, what I really did that mattered was what I did and said on Liberation Day, not what I did this morning. Your reaction to that?
I just think the markets kind of disagreed with that statement. Liberation Day, the markets tanked. Today, the markets went up. So I think the markets disagree with him, but maybe that was his plan all along.
That's the question, right? I think a lot of people are wondering, certainly the market is wondering, what is President Trump going to do next? So much of this back and forth and so much of the roller coaster ride in the market has been just unpredictability, not knowing what is coming next from this White House. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to these tariffs. We will follow up on this press conference and the questions and what President Trump said coming up next on KSL Inside Sources. Stay right here for that.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Attention, RV owners or RV wannabe owners. It's the used RV blowout sale. RVs from all over the Intermountain West have been sent to the Layton Hills Mall for this RV liquidation event. Repos, buybacks, rental returns, and trade-ins. Blowout pricing. Every RV has been inspected and serviced and ready to go. Free admission, free parking. Dealers welcome. It's the used RV blowout sale. this Wednesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to dusk. Go to UtahRVEvent.com. Sponsored by Paris RV.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-371-0505. 800-371-0505.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every year, we seem to have a few people trying to get our free furnace promotion after the sale has ended. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I know you want to save as much money as you can, but that's not how sales work. When they're over, they're over. Lucky for you, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than April 30th, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, don't be one of those people that wishes they had called and taken advantage of our free furnace sale. The estimate's free, and we'll make sure you have all of the information you need to decide if our free furnace sale is right for you. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
With the 90-day pause on tariffs, will the roller coaster stock market continue to fluctuate, or will it stabilize for a few weeks? The Trump administration also stated that the tax rate on Chinese imports will be raised to 125%. Taylor, 125% Chinese goods. What are your thoughts?
Boy, Adam, I can't think of many things that we buy on a regular basis that will be affordable anymore. I mean, listen, it's a problem here in our country that we consume so many cheap products made in China. It is a problem. I acknowledge that. That problem takes the form of Amazon boxes on my porch every day of the week. Okay? And I bet a lot of Utahns, a lot of listeners are in the same boat. But when it comes to operating businesses, my wife and I own our own businesses. Her business depends on products that are manufactured in China and shipped from China. This is going to have a huge impact on her bottom line. This is going to hurt small businesses throughout Utah, throughout the country.
I have a relative who makes some nutritional products, and a lot of their stuff comes from China. That's the only place you can get it.
Yeah.
And the original just 10% tariff added an extra $1 per unit cost to my relative's business. And when they go up to 125%, you can imagine what that does to their.
Well, we're already still dealing with the costs of inflation, right? Inflation is still, it's coming down relative to where it was, but the cost of goods and services is still incredibly high. Utahns are struggling to make ends meet already, and we know that businesses are just going to have to pass along the costs of their goods. They're passing these costs on to consumers, which means all of us are going to be paying more for all kinds of things in our everyday lives.
Well, we have a special guest with us today on Inside Sources, Scott Condy. He's an associate professor of economics at BYU, who's kind of going to give us the lay of the land. And Scott, I got to ask you, well, first of all, thanks for coming on the show, but I got to ask you, what's your immediate reaction to this 90-day pause, but still continuing the tariffs on Chinese goods?
Thanks for having me. Great question. I think in general, the market had a very positive reaction to this, up about 6%. It's clear that we would love, the market on average would love for these tariffs to just disappear. What is unclear, given what we've seen in the tariff relationship with Canada and Mexico over the last couple months, it's unclear whether this pause will hold for 90 days or whether there will be back and forth on certain subsets of this. Certain countries might see increased tariffs. It really does seem to be at the whim of President Trump and what he thinks would be best. And so while there's obviously really positive sentiment associated with putting a pause on these tariffs, I don't know that this has resolved a lot of the uncertainty that people have going forward.
We know, Scott, at least according to President Trump's most recent statements today, 75 countries have now reached out to the White House asking to make, quote unquote, deals to avoid these reciprocal tariffs, right? To try to do something to forestall, the imposition of these tariffs. We know, of course, President Trump also this morning announced this 90-day pause. Scott, I understand you're a professor of economics at BYU, and that economics professors, at least in my experience, like to deal in realities and don't like to speculate. But Scott, bear with me. I'm going to ask you to speculate here, Professor. What could President Trump possibly do here that would minimize the fluctuations in the market? Is there anything that he could say or signal that would ease the tension?
This is the question we're all asking ourselves. I'm glad you asked it. Okay, so one of the challenges that the administration faces is that their messaging practices on the economy in general have been a bit back and forth. Tariffs have come and gone and come and gone. Comments about taxes, comments about other policy objectives that they have come and gone. So they're facing some headwinds in communicating clearly in ways that people are going to be able to interpret in a straightforward way and then be able to make decisions about hiring new workers or investing in new projects and things like that. The things that would really help the market would be for him to have really concrete arrangements, diplomatic arrangements with these countries when they come. So if Japan, who has some of the initial talks with the U.S., if they were to come out of those negotiations in a fairly straightforward way with we're going to lower tariffs on both sides, I think the market would love that. And there's a lot of talk, the sort of silly thing that economists sometimes say is that talk is cheap. And so I think what people are really hoping, the best thing that could happen would be concrete deals that get negotiated and signed, and there seems to be some resolution to the uncertainty. The place where that uncertainty is the largest for sure is China, as you guys mentioned in the lead up. We buy a lot of household goods and other products from China, a lot of iPhones and other electronics, and that part of the tariff war is still very much uncertain and doesn't seem to have been resolved at all with this pause.
Professor Condi, the president appeared at a press conference just a few moments ago, and we played a little bit of that in our last segment. He was asked by a reporter if he was watching the Treasury bond market, and that is what made him change and do the 90-day pause on tariffs. And he said, I have been watching the market. Boy, it's a beautiful market, and it's looking very good. Is the bond market beautiful? Do you think that that's plays into the reason why Trump decided to do this 90-day pause?
So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what his reasons were. That would be a reasonable thing to look at if you were trying to evaluate the extent to which a potential policy like the tariff policy is impacting the economy. One of the things that was, I would say one of the things that was unexpected and atypical for market downturns was that the Treasury yield, particular on the 10-year Treasury, has gone up, which is to say people have been valuing U.S. Treasury securities less than prior to this policy announcement last week. Usually in times of financial turmoil, when markets are sinking and people are worried about a recession, there's a flight into the U.S. of savings. So people bring their capital here because these assets are highly valued. After the announcement, we saw a decline in the U.S. dollar value, across the world, and a decline in the value of U.S. Treasury securities. That was especially sharp yesterday afternoon when they had a 3-year Treasury auction that was there was less interest than they were expecting. 10-year Treasury rates dropped. 10-year Treasury prices dropped pretty dramatically this morning, and the market was pretty scared. We then had a Treasury auction at about 1 o'clock Eastern, and that actually did okay, but we still saw an increase in yields. That is a decrease in prices through the day. If I were the president, which I'm not, of course, but if I were, I would be concerned about Treasury yields. If people, especially foreigners, have less interest in buying U.S. assets, that's going to change our prospects and our ability to do the things that we want to do as a country in general.
That was Scott Conde, Associate Professor of Economics at BYU. Professor, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to have you back as this situation changes minute by minute. When Inside Sources returns, President Trump said that the tariffs are going to be good for Republicans in the midterms. What does that mean? Stay right here.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. Hundreds of student visas have been revoked across the country, affecting over 24 college students here in Utah. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr reports.
Our journalists have confirmed that over 24 student visas have been revoked at the University of Utah, Snow College, and Weber State.
If you get that letter and you don't actively embark, if you don't leave, you are then, you don't have any status. And if you don't have status, you are going to be targeted. You will be somebody that will be subject to deportation proceedings.
Adam Craik, managing partner at a criminal immigration firm in Salt Lake City, continues.
We're always supposed to be looking for the best and the brightest. That's what's made us so phenomenal to come to the United States. But now that just chases this away. That whole notion's gone.
KSL obtained a letter sent to some of those students urging them to leave the country voluntarily and apply for a visa later or risk deportation. Alessandra Gurr, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump's 90-day pause on tariffs for many countries around the world won't apply to China. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers reports.
The 90-day pause does not apply to China. President Trump is actually raising the U.S. tariff on Chinese goods to 125%. The president said China has shown a, quote, lack of respect to global markets. His press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said the increase in tariffs is because
China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States. And as I said at the podium yesterday, when you punch at the United States of America, President Trump is going to punch back harder.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
And your money at this moment after that tariff announcement, the Dow up by nearly 2,900 points. That's nearly 8%. S&P 500, it's up by 9%. The NASDAQ, it's up by nearly 12%. Well, are these nice temperatures going to last? We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Way back in 1989, I started servicing hot tubs in Park City, and I learned the hard way in the freezing winter in the mountains that hot tubs are not built for Utah's harsh climate. I then found the Arctic Spa, the most northern manufacturer of hot tubs built specifically for the northern climates. Arctic Spas use perimeter insulation similar to your house where the outside walls are insulated. This allows us to utilize the excess heat from the motors to help heat the water and reduce your electric cost each month. Since then, we have sold 10,000 Arctic Spas here in Utah. We've learned that Arctic Spas last longer because they are built stronger. You can just feel the difference. Arctic Spas are easier to fix because we put access panels all the way around the spa, which makes it less expensive for you. Add this to the lower electric bills each month, and you end up with the least expensive hot tub to own over the long term. Arctic Spas, with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spa is the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. And let's check in now with Ricky Meese.
A right lane blocked with a vehicle fire as fire crews are mopping up what's left of this earlier vehicle in West Valley City, southbound I-215's West Belt, just after the 201 junction. Traffic light enough, it's not causing any major backups, but again, the right lane is blocked to traffic. Of course, you can text us your traffic tips to the KSL Mountain Home Services text line at 57500. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front. I mean, what a beautiful forecast. 69 for a high today, 79 tomorrow, up to 82 by Friday. Then for the weekend, a slight chance of showers and a little bit cooler temperatures. Right now, 66 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Today's biggest story, again, tariffs. Adam, I feel like a broken record. I sound like a broken record. We've been talking about tariffs for weeks. It is, again, the top story today, because of all of the impacts that they are having throughout the world, impacting the market here in the United States. Last time the ticker was on screen, Adam, the stock market was up over 7 points in response to President Trump freezing these tariffs for 90 days. You, Adam, talked about the background of that, kind of the lead up, the back and forth, and how President Trump is essentially taking credit for this idea of this 90-day pause, an idea that maybe came from a source on X, not necessarily from the White House itself. A lot to break down here. So glad you're joining us on KSL Inside Sources. Before we get too far, Adam, I want to make sure we play some audio of President Trump in the lead up to today's announcement on the 90-day pause on tariffs. Last night, President Trump spoke at the National Republican Congressional Committee, an event, a fundraiser, and he talked about how tariffs will be good for Republicans in the midterms.
It's so important that we pass the big, beautiful bill, because that's going to be, and I really think And I really think we're helped a lot by the tariff situation that's going on, which is a good situation, not a bad. It's great. It's going to be legendary. You watch, legendary in a positive way, I have to say. It's going to be legendary. But I really think it actually puts pressure on those few Republicans that just can't get there.
Adam, are you one of those Republicans who just can't get there?
I think most Republicans just can't get there. The only difference is we've seen a lot of members of Congress say, I don't like tariffs, but I hopefully Trump knows what he's doing. This shouldn't take long. Or in the Midwest, you have, I don't like tariffs, but I'm really fine with President Trump's tariffs, but I would really love if we had exemptions for soybeans and alfalfa and corn and things that are important to my state.
Yeah.
No one is 100% in favor of these blanket tariffs, except for Bernie Sanders that I've seen. He's the only one that said, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing this.
This is probably why Bernie Sanders didn't get elected to be president of the United States, is because he talked about tariffs on the campaign trail, and he likes what's happening right now, Adam. Nothing against the good Senator Bernie Sanders and his supporters. I think Republicans, and especially traditional fiscally conservative Republicans, those who believe in free markets and in fair trade, are really struggling to wrap their heads around what President Trump is doing. Now, again, to President Trump's credit, following the announcement of this 90-day pause, the markets are through the roof. But is that only because the market had already priced in fears of recession because of the tariffs? Where are we, do you think?
Well, here's what I find interesting is at this. So the context of this speech was at a Republican National Committee fundraiser, and he uses this opportunity to tell Republicans to get in line.
Yeah.
So he says we have a few Republicans who just can't get there. You have Don Bacon, Chuck Grassley, Kennedy's on the fence. This Rand Paul from Kentucky is very against these tariffs, and very vocally so. Mitch McConnell and others in the Republican Party. And in the House, you have Don Bacon, who's from Nebraska, who's awesome and has really spoken out against this issue. So he's telling Republicans to get in line. And then the very next day, he completely switches, does this 90-day pause. And what that does to me is tell me that those members of Congress were correct.
Yeah.
The markets responded very positively. Now, when I was on Dave and Dujanovic this morning, and we had this was before the announcement was made.
Okay.
They asked what the next step would be, and I said, look, he is going to go all out and throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Twitter, X, social media, news programs are going to say how terrible this situation is.
Yeah.
He's going to be hearing from business leaders. Wherever we are at that moment when he decides the pressure is too much, he is going to call it and say, I won. This was my plan all along.
Yeah.
And then just an hour later, that's kind of what we saw.
Almost exactly what he did, but almost immediately.
Now you're seeing, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of the woodwork to hit this on the news shows. You have Peter Navarro, who's very pro-tariff, very isolationist, and he's his biggest advisor, and he's been the one that's been listened to by Trump the most, even though he's disagreed with others, with Scott Bessent, with Elon Musk in his administration. Now we're going to see if those guys come out of the woodwork and say, hey, yep, this was our plan all along, this is what we wanted, or are they going to push for more retaliatory tariffs? Or are they going to push for higher rates?
And so much of this is just about the internal politics within the National Republican Party and a dividing line between Trump loyalists and other Republicans in the party. Just like you said, President Trump has been very critical of lawmakers like Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska, Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, who co-leads the Senate majority there. You know, Trump yesterday at this dinner said, and I want to be careful there because I can't on air, Adam, repeat all of President Trump's language. I'm going to leave a few words blank, okay? So you can infer what he said. President Trump yesterday said, quote, "These countries are calling me up, kissing my
behind."
Quote, and then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand and say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate, end quote. That was President Trump at this National Republican Congressional Committee fundraiser last night, criticizing lawmakers, talking about the big, beautiful bill, talking about his ability to negotiate, criticizing Republicans who opposed the tariffs. This was yesterday, Adam, and fast forward to today, he's pausing the tariffs. So no matter what happens, Donald Trump will win. At least he will say he did, right? That we can expect that. In your eyes, how do you think this impacts the midterms? Is it really all about the economy at that time? Or will Republicans be willing to support candidates who oppose what President Trump is doing right now?
I think this is the perfect amount of time. We're in April right now. If he calls all of this off before the end of May and just punishes China, which is a winning message, then I think Republican voters will forget by the end of next year. They're not going to remember what's going on. So by the time everyone's up for re-election, this will be so far out of Republican voters' minds.
Yeah,
but
and this is his biggest liability in the polling. With the exception of these tariffs and economic uncertainty, Donald Trump is performing pretty well in the polling. Generally, especially Republicans, are happy with his executive orders. They're happy, generally, with his stance on immigration, even with a lot of issues and legal problems surrounding deportations. Republicans are generally very happy with President Trump, except for the tariffs and economic uncertainty. So a lot to get to, a lot to watch there. Coming up next on KSL Inside Sources, we're going to talk more about those deportations. Federal judges have blocked the deportation of 5 Venezuelans today. We'll tell you why after the break.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Utah. Have you been to a Utah Hockey Club game at Delta Center? If not, you are missing out. The NHL's newest team is heating up in the push towards the playoffs, and the atmosphere inside Delta Center is electric. Find your seats at UtahHockeyClub.com or on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of the Utah Hockey Club.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, there's a window company giving huge discounts, saying it's the biggest sale ever.
And last month they were offering free labor. That just doesn't add up.
We don't play those games. At Window World, everyone gets the same low price every day.
No pressure, no games, and now we offer siding too.
Call Window World today, 801-281-8111 for 4 windows and a patio door for just $56.12.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention, Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Troy, I don't know if you know this, but we're a big deal.
Are we?
Oh, yeah.
Can you be a big deal and still live with your mom?
Who do you think told me? But honestly, who else but Bish's brings back show pricing on all RVs this far into spring just so everyone gets the best price possible?
That actually is a really big deal. No one does that.
See? We are a big deal.
The sale is a big deal.
The big deal is talking.
Get into Bish's RV for second chance show pricing for a limited time.
We're talking travel trailers starting under $129 per month on approved credit.
Clearance pricing on all remaining new in stock 2024s.
And enjoy 0 payments until July. OAC.
And here's the really big deal. Every RV purchase gets free propane refills for life as long as you own the RV.
Start shopping the best deals now at Bish's.com.
Don't miss your very last chance at the best show pricing deals around. Only for a limited time at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock numbers 89912-81734. Subject to prior sale. See dealer details.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Federal judges in New York and Texas took legal action today to block the government from moving 5 Venezuelans out of the country until they can fight the government's attempt to remove them under a law that gives the president the power to imprison and deport non-citizen in times of war. The Alien Enemies Act has only been used 3 times in the past. Remember, this was passed. You all remember, right? You were there. This was passed in 1798.
War of 1812, maybe?
So this law was passed in 1798. It was designed originally under the Adams administration to go after Democratic Republican editors of newspapers. That's kind of what the Alien and Sedition Acts were designed to do. And this act. It's
a good thing we don't go after the media like that today, Adam.
We can do a whole segment on that too, by both parties. It's only been used 3 times in the past: the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. The Trump administration is arguing that the U.S. is being invaded by members of the Tren de Aragua gang. So the interesting thing here, Taylor, is that they're making the argument that we are at war. Our country is being invaded by Tren de Aragua, this violent gang, and I get that. We've seen violence in Utah, the uptick in these gangs taking over.
Yeah,
I have a lot of relatives and friends that are police officers. They're all seeing it in their cities. They can identify it pretty easily. Like, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is kind of how they act. And so we're seeing this uptick. So none of us have any arguments that these violent criminals should be kicked out of the country. Here's the issue here. These 5 Venezuelans that are about to get kicked out, their lawyers are trying to take the opportunity to say, hey, we don't think that they are part of this gang, and we want to prove to the court that they're not.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these folks that are being deported have had temporary legal status, specifically by judges.
Yes.
And they're being deported. So they're being done without due process. And so these judges today in New York and Texas have said, we're going to block their deportation. Do you think that will actually hold? Will the administration deport them anyway, or will they listen to the courts?
Well, I think the administration, at least this second term in this President Donald Trump administration, they have set a clear precedent of ignoring orders from judges. That seems to be pretty clear. According to the AP, these 5 men were identified as gang members using physical attributes, using what is called the Alien Enemy Validation Guide. Adam, this is something new to me. I'm not familiar with this. But according to ICE, this guide essentially tallies points, relying on things like tattoos, hand gestures, symbols, logos, graffiti, manner of dress, This is as reported by the AP, according to the ACLU, right? There's essentially this list that is used to identify suspected gang members, and according to the administration, to ICE, these 5 Venezuelans have enough points, so to speak, by this guide to be considered gang members. So I don't know, Adam. This is a big, broad conversation. To answer your question, no, I don't think the administration is going to respect orders from the bench. I do think they will likely proceed with deportation. The legal ramifications of doing that we will see. We'll see what happens. But I want to take a step back and talk maybe a little bit broader about immigration and about these deportations. What do you think Americans feel about these kind of deportations? Are we happy that finally someone is taking action with immigration security, and are we willing to tolerate a few miscues when it comes to deporting the wrong person? If we're deporting 100 violent criminals who shouldn't be in our country and 1 or 2 of them are wrongly deported, Adam, is that okay? Or is that too high of a price to pay if we care a lot about due process and constitutional rights?
Well, you mentioned the constitutional rights. For me, that is where I draw the line. No innocent person here in the United States legally, especially United States citizens or United States residents, legal residents, should ever be deported to another country and put in prison.
Absolutely.
That is the most terrifying situation that I can think of for me or my family or a loved one or a friend. I think that would be absolutely disastrous. That's literally the entire purpose of the Constitution,
right?
Is to afford due process and individual rights to people in this country that are here legally. And this is the other, I say that realizing when I say here legally, that has to be determined by
and there has to be due process to determine legal status here, right?
So you mentioned the guide by ICE that tallies points, relying on tattoos, hand gestures, symbols, logos, graffiti, manner of dress, etc. And my concern is you had this gentleman who was mistakenly, the government admitted we mistakenly deported this guy.
It's a big mistake.
I cannot imagine just being picked up one day. We're sending you to Venezuela, and you're going to serve life in prison in this with all these other gang members. He's maintaining his innocence. So is his lawyer. And when they went back and looked at the police report, there were 2 interesting things on this police report. One, the guy who filed the police report was actually on leave, an administrative leave because of stuff he was doing wrong. So that should have been a red flag.
That's a red flag.
It was not by the administration. And the second thing is, in one of these points that we are talking about was his manner of dress. And the manner of dress, according to police reports, where he was wearing Chicago Bulls paraphernalia, which was red, and they were red.
That's problematic, Adam, for
in
a
Utah,
lot of
don't
other
do that
reasons.
stuff.
But right,
we're going to treat you poorly if you wear this Bulls stuff, especially from '97
or
98.
any Lakers gear. Right? Don't do it here in Utah.
And I mean, in a lot of these cities, it is a big deal of what type of dress you wear and what type of colors, gangs you're associated with. But honestly, I really have a kind of a soft spot for people that are here legally that should not be deported, and especially it's not like they're being deported just back to their home country and let off. They are being put in a notorious prison in El Salvador. So if I'm a Venezuelan, I'm not being sent back to Venezuela or the country that I know. I'm being sent to El Salvador to a prison.
Yeah,
that is one of the scariest parts. We've never seen that in this country before.
So much of this, though, Adam, if I take a step back and just consider where we have been as a country for the last half century, and the total lack of action by members of both parties in Congress, in the White House, to do anything meaningful when it comes to border security, immigration reform. We are now at a point in our country where we boxed ourselves into a political corner when it comes to maintaining our border and enforcing immigration law. And I'm not saying that these are acceptable losses when it comes to due process. We should not be deporting someone who should not be deported. But at the same time, for so long in our country, we have used this rationale of, well, the process isn't perfect, it's messy, we can't take a risk of accidental, unintentional deportation, so we can't do anything. We've just failed to take any kind of meaningful action. Congress has not done anything significant to secure our border and reform, modernize immigration in this country. And unfortunately, I think there are a lot of Americans who are so desperate for action that we may be willing to stomach some mistakes. And this is a conflict for me and something I think about daily. It really is.
I am not one that is willing to be okay with any mistakes of Americans going to an El Salvadorian prison or legal residence. That's a huge problem. Where I will give kudos to the Trump administration, though, is their rhetoric is working. Less and less illegal immigration is coming over the border, something I really, really appreciate. I'll also note that when you said set the precedent of ignoring the courts, I really think that the Biden administration did that as well when they ignored the courts on their student loan judgments, student loan forgiveness. Coming up on the second hour of Inside Sources, Governor Cox was one of 22 Republican governors that signed a letter in support of the Senate's budget resolution. We're going to be talking about that next on Inside Sources.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story this hour. President Trump has delayed reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries, but not China.
China is still a very, very important trading partner with the United States. They export about $440 billion worth of goods here to the United States. A number of small businesses and big businesses rely on China, and it appears that things are continuing to escalate there with part of this directive, including that increased tariff on Chinese goods that are coming here to the United States.
That is ABC's Rebecca Jarvis reporting. At the close, the Dow up nearly 3,000 points, nearly 8%, sitting at 43,607. S&P 500 up by 474 points. The NASDAQ, the big winner, up at the close 12%. Starting today, Salt Lake City is going wild with potholes. Mayor Aaron Mendenhall says city crews are dedicating an entire week to repairing traffic hazards.
We also have a new pothole patch truck. It's the first of its kind in our fleet, and I think it's only the second ever in the country. On this single truck, it has an air compressor, a jackhammer, and a compactor all in one vehicle.
Last year, almost 6,800 potholes were repaired during the week-long effort called Pothole Palooza. Coming up on KSL, warm weather here to stay, at least for a couple of days. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next, tell you how warm it's going to get. KSL News Time, 2:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Celebrate National Serger Month with super deals on all sewing machines and sergers at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
0% interest for 18 months on certain machines. See store for details.
Purchase a new Bernina L890.
Get free gifts worth up to $1,600. Take advantage of $1,000 off the Bernina 475 QE.
Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Dave's Bernina has big discounts on the Bernina L450, 460, and the L850 and 860 machines that include lots of free extras.
Amazing bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties.
Starting at $399, you'll love 20% off Serger feet, Serger studio cabinet, and Serger luggage.
Berninas provide unmatched quality and ease of use. Hurry in to Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Dave'sBernina.com.
It's Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I've got something important to talk to you about, your 401k. If you have changed jobs, there are two very important considerations. You don't want to leave your 401k behind, and you don't want to roll it over into your new company plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. 401ks will often have limited investments or age-based options. Since companies have to make choices to suit all employees, they may not be suited to you, which could cost you fees and money. When you roll over your 401k into an IRA, you not only keep your money growing tax deferred, but you also gain access to a world of investment options specifically designed for you. Trajan Wealth and our fiduciary advisors have helped thousands, and we can do the same for you. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. And here's Ricky Meese.
An easy drive on the Valley freeways, including West Valley's I-215's West Belt, where we had an earlier vehicle fire and the final cleanup. This is probably wrapped up from an accident at Redwood Road and 1100 South. Create your floral sanctuary with Olson's Greenhouse, locally grown premium quality flowers to complement porches, patios, and containers. Don't miss Olson's Container Fest, Saturday, April 26th at all Home Depots. Details at ogg.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Just a couple of days of spectacular weather before the showers set in again. Today's high 69, up to 79 tomorrow, 82 on Friday. Just a lot of sunshine. And then on Saturday, a 10% chance of showers, and the high temperature dropping to 73 degrees. 66 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
22 Republican governors sent President Donald Trump a letter on Tuesday in support of the Senate's budget resolution, arguing it sets a strong foundation on which to build. Among those 22 Republican governors who signed that letter, Utah's own Governor Spencer Cox. Welcome back to KSL Inside Sources. I am Taylor Morgan here with Adam Gardner. Adam, were you surprised at all when you learned that Utah Governor Spencer Cox signed on to this letter to President Trump?
I think I'd be really surprised if there were 3 or 4 governors that signed on to this, and he was one of them. But 22 Republican governors, it seems like everyone was kind of on the same page. It's like a national, like an RGA thing, a Republican Governors Association thing. I know they met up in Utah. They meet every year, every spring for a ski season retreat, fundraiser type thing.
Matthew McConaughey was here, I believe, for the last one.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Governor Spencer Cox hosted.
Who needs
Matthew
Sundance?
McConaughey.
You know, if we have Matthew McConaughey coming for our GA.
Nobody's going to Boulder. Come on now.
So, because all 22 of them signed, that makes a lot more sense. I know there seems to be some consternation on the federal level where the Senate and the House are really disagreeing. The House passed a budget resolution. I believe they only had one no vote. That was Thomas Massie of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
He's a no vote a lot. And then it goes over to the Senate side, and then the Republicans have kind of banded together to all vote together. And they passed what they could get passed, but that will not necessarily get past the House. So that Senate budget resolution has already lost 3 House members. They can only lose 3.
Right.
They can't lose one more if everybody shows up.
Anyone else, yeah.
I don't know if they can keep everybody together. Some of them are the usual suspects. They're Chip Roy from Texas, who the president vehemently disliked. Politically, they're the same. They're both populists. But they dislike each other quite a bit. Representative Stube from Florida and Ron Estes from Kansas. There's still several others that have not committed one way or the other. So it remains to be seen if they actually can get this through. I did see a post by the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget on which Joe Manchin, former Democratic senator from West Virginia, and former senator from Utah, Mitt Romney, on which they sit on this board. They said the Senate's budget resolution includes just $4 billion in enforceable spending cuts. That's about $3 per American household per year. So that is not
$3 per household.
That's not going to fly in the House. I think a lot of the members of the House voted for a continuing resolution through the end of the year, expecting there would be this big, beautiful bill that the president has talked about, that there would be something more enforceable spending cuts, and there just isn't.
What's difficult about all of the cuts and all of the controversy surrounding Elon Musk and Doge and all of the unemployed, terminated federal workers, all of the drama, Adam, if you could give me a much more significant number, a dollar amount, on how much all of that would translate to my tax savings, to my household, I might feel better about all of it. Right now, to me, though, it just feels like a whole lot of chaos for very little return.
I think that's a really good point. And again, let's say that number was we cut $1 trillion from the budget. And that's what Elon Musk keeps saying we're doing. We're going to cut $1 trillion. Well, that still leaves you with about a $3 trillion deficit, which is a problem.
It's a problem.
And to your point, Taylor, was something that I also agree with, and I want to see that tax savings in my pockets as well. But if the argument is, you're not going to feel any of that. There's going to be a ton of pain. Because this is money that we've already spent. That we're $37 trillion in debt.
That's right.
And so we need to pay that off. And so while you're going through, the Dave Ramsey in me is coming out saying you're gonna have a rice and ramen noodles to eat every meal, because that's like what the effort is going to take to get our country out of this mess.
Right.
I'm glad that we're talking about it. I think it should be talked about. But we're not seeing direction from the White House, even Doge, to codify these supposed cuts that we're seeing from Doge.
Yeah, well, and in fairness, my attitude, my selfish concern is one of the reasons why we have never done anything meaningful when it comes to balancing the budget or reducing the deficit, right? Because we can't even start to reduce the national debt if we also cut taxes, right? Yet every elected official, well, with the exception of maybe a few Democrats like Bernie Sanders, maybe AOC and some others, but with the exception of those few, Adam, I believe every member of Congress wants to be able to talk about cutting taxes. And we just aren't going to be able to do that unless, we really, really slash federal spending. I don't know what that tipping point is. We're certainly not there yet, Adam, despite all of the chaos. Adam, I want to pivot a little bit as part of this conversation regarding this budget resolution. We know 22 Republican governors signed on to this letter sent to President Trump supporting the resolution, including Utah's Governor Spencer Cox. What do you think right now is the relationship like between Republican members of Congress and Republican governors? You've been in Congress most recently between the two of us. I was there a while ago. You've been there fairly recently working for former Senator Mitt Romney. What do you think that dynamic is like today between governors and majorities. In
I
the House
think
and Senate.
I think a lot of those conversations are for important people, which I was not one of those. But here's what I do think. I think that Spencer Cox wants to do what's right, and I think he is seeing political realities. He's a realist here, and he's saying, look, the Republicans are in charge and the president's in charge, and he's going to get a lot of what he wants. So we got to help. We have to give support to our members of Congress. I think this isn't about telling House members how they should vote. I think what they're saying is, hey, senators, Senator Lee, Senator Curtis, we got your back. We understand you're in a really crappy position. We understand this is probably all you think you can get out of this reconciliation process. And we want you to know that Republican governors, we're on your side. We get what you have to do. We know you're going to be facing tough midterm elections. We know you're going to be facing problems X, Y, and Z. But we want you to know that we're on your side and we're backing President Trump as well.
Do you think voters are going to track the difference between $4 billion in spending cuts versus $1.5 trillion in spending cuts if, the average household only sees a $3 annual benefit?
Voters don't want their lives to change dramatically.
Right.
So they don't care if the spending cuts are $3 trillion a year or $4 billion a year. I think they care in principle, but they don't want to see their lives or their standard of living change dramatically.
Will voters care about in principle, all of this chaos, right? All of this chaos, at least the way Donald Trump talks about, even the tariffs. He talks about the tariffs being a good thing for the midterms. Look into your crystal ball, Adam Gardner, and tell me, how do you think Republican voters will react?
I think if the chaos continues with a Republican-controlled House, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican controlling the White House, if the chaos continues and they're not seeing real results for something they voted for and wanted Trump to deliver, then there's going to be a problem, and they're going to remember.
Yeah, a lot of questions to answer, a lot of conversations to be had. We will certainly continue watching this here on KSL Inside Sources. Stay right here with us, because coming up after the break, we have to talk about what is happening right now at the University of Utah. President Taylor Randall is being accused by some professors at the University of Utah of being too, quote, authoritarian. We're going to get into this story after the break.
Can you take the power of your home internet almost anywhere? With Xfinity, you can. Do more of what you love in the places you go most with internet and mobile together. Xfinity built a network 99.99% reliable. Plus, Xfinity Mobile has Wi-Fi Power Boost, giving you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. Get the same reliable network where you need it the most. The coffee shop, the grocery store, at the game. Whatever you're into, you'll love how fast you can do it with Xfinity Internet and Mobile. Now through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year with no annual contract, and save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Plus, ask how to get a free premium 5G phone. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual speeds vary.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Do you want to make your house more comfortable, more energy efficient, more valuable? Well, maybe it's time you took a look at your doors and windows. And there's nobody around who does doors and windows better than Peach Doors and Windows.
Improve the functionality of your home with custom replacement windows, entry doors, patio doors. Maybe you have a sunroom or you want a new custom front door and windows to maximize the beauty of your home. Peach offers flexible financing available to fit any budget. They've got expert installation, including fiberglass doors, which are their specialty, and they'll replace your windows with the highest energy efficiency rating.
And customer service is a top priority. It's the reason why they have so many 5-star reviews on Google. You can check it out for yourself. You can also check them out online at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can call for a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255.
Or see them in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Go check out their beautiful showroom. It's Peach Doors and Windows.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then, browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes a new inventory every day. Then, they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. You're invited to visit the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
On September 12th, 1995, 12-year-old McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas. It was a crime that shocked the community because the suspect was so unlikely, so unexpected.
Former high-ranking police official, he'd run for sheriff at one point.
Law enforcement personnel were pretty much split down the middle over whether or not he actually did this.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, still feels that justice was never truly served.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
University of Utah faculty members are accusing President Taylor Randall of being draconian and authoritarian after he issued a memo last month calling for a review of all campus policies to make sure they adequately limit the authority of professors. This raises the question of who keeps the university as a whole in check and where's the line. This has been a conversation ongoing, Taylor, at the Utah State Legislature, and the legislature really pushed back on universities this year pretty significantly, and last year. And I think our own Leah Murray, she wrote kind of an op-ed dealing with a little bit of this in the Standard Examiner last week, which I thought was really thoughtful and great. Yeah. And it went outside of her political norms as a Democrat and as a university professor. And so
she's pretty center-left, Leah, Professor Murray. But boy, yeah.
But she got attacked by her colleagues from around the state.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've heard other professors say, and this is, I think, a criticism of the university system as a whole, is they have bosses. A lot of professors don't think that they have a boss, but they do.
Yeah.
And
even tenured professors still technically report to their bosses, right?
So they report to their bosses. You have university presidents and provosts and heads of departments and things, but you also have the system of higher education. We call it, for an acronym, we call it USHE here in Utah, and the Utah System of Higher Ed. And that's important to note. They're the ones that are kind of in charge of the university system and the college system in the state of Utah. Just like teachers that teach K through 12, they have bosses. They have state boards of education. They have other boards of education for their school districts. These guys are no different. Everybody kind of has a boss, and I think that as university professors kind of get off on their own and they have their own agendas that they try to push. I've heard professors say. After Trump wins, it's important, poli-sci professors, it's important that we push back on Donald Trump now that he's won. And that's not your job. Let's discuss like the history of political science and what this means for voting and like, yes, use it as part of your curriculum, but it is not your job to push a political agenda. So Taylor, I want to know, with kind of that backdrop, as you've read through this memo and associated articles with it, is President Taylor Randall being draconian and authoritarian by sending this memo out to faculty and staff outlining how the university system is going to change?
Well, I'm maybe to be transparent about a conflict of interest, if you will. I'm a University of Utah, a proud University of Utah alumnus. I really like President Taylor Randall.
I think he's awesome.
I really have admired what he has done on the Hill at the University of Utah just in his short few years, his tenure as president there. I can understand the pushback from some faculty members, knowing what the political environment, knowing some of the ideologies up there at the University of Utah. I earned 2 Bachelor of Science degrees, one in political science and another in international studies. And so, Adam, I can tell you from personal experience, I know very well the conversations that are happening and some of the pushback and criticism. Of course, all of this comes on the heels of the recent 2025 Utah legislative session, during which Utah lawmakers took a fairly aggressive posture toward higher education in the state of Utah, in particular, what kind of politics are being taught in classrooms at public universities and colleges throughout the state. Now, typically, historically, the University of Utah in years past has been often, historically, not today, but in the past, when I was in college, for example, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the University of Utah did not have a good relationship with our state legislature because of politics or the perception of difference in political opinions. I think a lot of that is at play right now. Adam, essentially, let's boil this down. President Taylor Randall is saying that he has to adhere to new laws passed by the legislature in recent years, including this year, when it comes to oversight of political rhetoric and courses and whatnot being taught on campus using taxpayer dollars to subsidize tuition and fees and so forth, right? Faculty are accusing him of using these new statutes and going too far. That's the controversy. That is the debate. I believe you are a Weber State guy. Is that right?
I'm a Weber State guy. I bleed purple.
You and Leah Murray, Professor Murray.
She was my professor.
What was the?
So I had a number of classes.
I want to know, what was the political dynamic like on campus in Ogden there at Weber State?
So I'll just speak for Professor Murray. I mean, she was great, taught both sides, and here's what the Republicans did that were really stupid. Here's what the Democrats did were really stupid. Here's what was popular. And then I had other teachers who were very, very liberal and taught that way and made sure all of your answers that way. And you just answered questions like you knew they would want. They weren't necessarily, I don't think, true, but you knew they were liberal and you knew they would appreciate the liberal opinion. What's interesting here is this bill wanted to take universities and decide who was in charge.
Senate Bill 192.
Senate Bill 192. Yep. So Senate Bill 192, it was very, very important because what was happening is the presidents actually had very little power over faculty and different situations on campus. The faculty senate, the academic senate, is the one that kind of controlled everything. And they would give directions to administration. They were running the show. And for some reason, they got all the power. So the presidents were kind of, all their power was gone. I was going to use other language, but all of their power was gone. And so this said, we're going to put presidents back in charge of their university. We go through this huge vetting process to get fantastic presidents of our state-run institutions. We need them to be able to exercise power, not have the academic senate controlled by professors run everything. And so this took away that power. This is the legislature decided that. We're not going to have these academic senates running everything. We're going to give, at the University of Utah, it's not going to be professors running the show. It's not going to be the academic senate. We're going to give President Taylor Randall, some guy that we put our trust in to run our institutions, who can be fired if he doesn't do it well.
That's right.
We're going to make sure he has the authority to do what needs to be done. And all he's telling his faculty is, hey, I'm complying with the law. We're going to have to do a review of all of these policies, and we're going to make some changes. And they're calling him out, saying, we're really disappointed in him. This is draconian. This is a way of reminding us that authority is being removed from us. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There was a professor that said that. This is just a way of reminding us that authority is being removed from us. You bet it is.
One of the sponsors of Senate Bill 192, the sponsor this session, was Senator Ann Milner, former president herself of Weber State University. I think that's an interesting dynamic. She, perhaps better than anyone else, would understand this dynamic that you're talking about, Adam. Look, a lot to watch here. As someone who spent a lot of time at the University of Utah in academic senate meetings, in student government, in the political science department, listening to a lot of these debates and a lot of this kind of rhetoric, I'm not sure what to think. We have a history in this country of our universities and colleges being a bastion of free speech and a political discourse. Is that still the case? What does the future look like for that? I don't know. And I don't know. Any reactions from you?
You know what? I think let's see how it plays out. I think that's going to be really important to see. This is doing nothing to take away free speech from anybody. It doesn't take away free speech from professors.
That's a good point.
It doesn't take away free speech from students. But what it does allow is a university president to act like a president and be a president over their university.
Great conversation, one we will continue. Up next on Inside Sources, President Trump has signed a new executive order that will have a big impact on Utah's energy production from coal. What does it mean for our state and our state's economy? We'll talk about that next.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top story this hour. Wall Street traders are probably singing "What a Difference a Day Makes" with the presidential pause in tariffs. The Dow is up almost 3,000 points today. The S&P 500 up 9.5%. The NASDAQ rose 12%. Your 401k is going to look a little bit better tonight. Here at home, local news, the Salt Lake County mayor says Sundance is using Utah's politics as a scapegoat for their relocation.
Mayor Jenny Wilson says state leaders and festival organizers have worked through problems for decades, and this time, organizers just didn't want to. In an op-ed to the LA Times, she says the festival wasn't started in Utah because it was easy. It was started here because it was different. She says Sundance opened doors for underrepresented communities and gave audiences access to new ideas and perspectives, planting seeds of change where they were needed. She writes that she knows Utah's political challenges very well and faces them every day. Her final message is that independent voices aren't just needed in comfortable places. They're needed in places where they can actually make a difference. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. and Russian officials will meet tomorrow in Istanbul. ABC's Patrick Reeville has more.
Russia's newly appointed ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darchiev, was speaking to reporters and said basically that they will focus on trying to restore diplomatic relations, doing things like lifting restrictions on Russian diplomats, also easing the facility, easing the work of embassies, including also discussing potentially the return of embassy buildings that were seized by the U.S.
Russia's ambassador to the U.S. says the relationship between President Trump and Russia's President Putin is already making it easier to get things done. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 2,962 points. Gold, meantime, if you're a gold bug, your ingots are worth an extra $122 an ounce. Coming up, some late spring weather is on the way. The KSL weather forecast is next. Stay with us. KSL News Time, 2:33.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
As a business owner looking to take your business to the next level, it's all about the right marketing. But what exactly is right for you? At KSL News Radio, we are ready to help you craft the perfect comprehensive strategy. Whether it's our powerful talent endorsements, engaging live interviews, creative production, live events, or our extensive digital platforms, we've got you covered with the right solution. Contact Stephanie Palmer today, spalmer@ksl.com, and let's grow your business together. Email spalmer@ksl.com.
Take advantage of Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's $99 or It's Free mainline drain clearing special. That's right, $99 or it's free. Feel secure knowing the trusted professionals at Yes guarantee that if we can't clear it, you don't pay for it. Whether it's a small clog or a larger mainline sewer drain issue, the experienced technicians at Yes are ready to solve all of your drain problems. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
My name is Mac Davis, and I have been on the SOTA weight loss program for 14 weeks now. I have dropped 38 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's been remarkably easy to follow the program. It's been amazing.
SOTA weight loss works.
Who would have thought that I would be able to lose over 100 pounds? I thought that there was no way that I could do that without having some kind of invasive surgery or diet pill or some other means.
Let SOTA Weight Loss teach you the healthy, natural way to let go of the weight for good.
The best decision I've made in a long time was just to call SOTA Weight Loss.
Join SOTA Weight Loss with your partner and only pay for one person. Lose weight together.
Double the motivation, double the results, half the cost. Take advantage of SOTA Weight Loss 2-for-1 partner program. Visit SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have cleared out of delays on I-215's belt route at the Taylorsville area. Those backups were likely due to debris in the road going southbound after 4700 south on the way to Redwood Road. We're looking pretty good on the freeways right now. Of course, you can always text us your traffic tips into the KSL Mountain Home Services text line at 560 888-872-7500. Utah Symphony performs the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today at Abravanel Hall. Don't miss Mahler, Mozart, and more. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL forecast, expect blue sky and a high of 79 tomorrow. Friday, fantastic 82 expected before it cools down for the weekend. Right now, 66 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Yesterday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to delay closure of some coal-fired power plants and end the federal moratorium on coal leases. Coal remains a huge component of the U.S. energy portfolio, and in Utah, our state derives 46% of its net electricity generation from coal. That's a little bit down from 75% in 2015, but still just under half of all of our electricity generation here in Utah comes from coal. This executive order signed by the president is going to have a big impact here in Utah. Adam, reactions to this executive order?
Hey, look, I wish this tariff stuff wasn't going on because I think this deserves a lot more press. I think a lot of people need to be talking about this. This is a bright spot among executive orders. I think the Biden administration and the Obama administration did a lot to shut down clean coal, to shut down coal extraction, and in response, that makes energy more expensive. I want cheap energy. This is a good way to do that.
It's good for our economy.
So I'm a huge fan of this executive order reversing some of the Biden and Obama era regulations on coal plants. I think a ton of them are shutting down. None of them are opening. And we're seeing China opening them at record rates for cheap power. I think we should be following suit, not going the opposite direction. If we're going to have other forms of power to take over, I totally welcome that. I don't think we're there yet. I think our state is planning ahead and having a good mix of power. But to get a little more of the lay of the land from this executive order, we're really grateful to have a good friend of the show, Brian Summers. He's the president of the Utah Mining Association, to kind of give us the lowdown here. Brian, thanks so much for being with us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, can you give us the lay of the land? Talk to us about this executive order and what it means for coal production in the United States and especially in Utah.
Absolutely. This is a great executive order from President Trump. And so, as you said, this really does reverse a lot of the Biden and Obama era policies that were targeting coal. And so the president makes it the official policy of the U.S. The U.S. Supports our energy independence and supports coal production and coal-fire generation, coal exports. And in this executive order specifically goes and reverses some of the federal moratoria that we've seen in other states. Also directs all of the various regulatory agencies within the federal government to go back and assess any rules that could have a negative effect on coal production and on coal-fired generation in the U.S., and also directs the various federal agencies to find opportunities to support the coal industry with advanced permitting and also potential financial support of the coal industry.
Brian, as I read earlier, just at the top of the segment, we know that 46% of all of Utah's energy production comes from coal. But how does our state stack up to other states in the nation when it comes to coal as a resource? This executive order signed by President Trump yesterday referred to some coal-rich states. Is Utah one of those states, or how do we compare?
Yeah, absolutely. Utah's a very coal-rich state, so we have substantial coal resources here. And one of the things that sets Utah apart, I mean, there are definitely other states that produce more coal than we do, states like Wyoming and West Virginia. The one thing that really sets Utah apart is the quality of our coal. So we have very, very high BTU, very low sulfur, low ash coal. And so it's coal that not only is great for electricity generation within our state and has helped keep Utah's electricity rates among some of the lowest in the nation, and some of the most secure in the nation as well, but also it's coal that's in demand on the international markets. And so we ship about a third of our coal actually goes to Japan, where they really want high quality coal, and hot burning coal for their advanced coal-fired power plants there. And so our coal from Utah commands a premium on the international marketplace. And this executive order also directs the federal government to encourage coal exports as well.
I have been into a coal mine. It was arranged years ago. I went with you and a bunch of others, and we saw longwall coal mining operations, which were super fascinating to me. I had never been inside a coal mine. It was not what I had pictured. I was picturing like the Zoolander area of Ben Stiller chiseling away and getting black lung. And what I saw was this longwall mining, which was highly technical. And some of the folks that we talked to, I was like, so did you go to school for to be a mining engineer or whatever? A lot of them were software engineers, developers, and they had created these complex systems for just having a lot of this automated system. And so I said, so when a politician says, if we're going to shut down these coal plants and coal operations and you can just learn to code, is that an accurate statement? And I remember one of them said to me, we already know how to code. I'm coding this. This is what I want to do. This is what I like. There are some roadblocks that were set up in the last administration, the Biden administration. What are some of those biggest challenges and roadblocks here in our last minute that this executive order will overturn and will allow coal production to increase?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, I mean, our coal industry is incredibly advanced, incredibly efficient, and the people that work in that industry work there because they love it and they want to work there. They're highly skilled workers. One of the biggest things that the Biden administration did was actually target the largest customer of our American coal resources, which is the electricity sector, with various rules and regulations that made it very, very difficult to run coal-fired power plants. And almost impossible in some cases. And so this executive order is directing the federal government to go back. And in some cases, they're delaying the implementation of some of those rules directly where the president has authority to do that. And in other cases, directing the agencies to go back and look at reassessing some of the rules that were put in place in the last administration that make it very difficult and disadvantage coal-fired generation vis-a-vis other forms of generation. So that's really something that, you clear the marketplace for those that want to consume coal, and then it makes it easier for our coal mines to stay in business.
Brian Summers, president of the Utah Mining Association, thank you so much for joining us here on KSL Inside Sources. Really appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next here on Inside Sources, are you actually going to need your real ID at the airport? We break down this 20-year initiative and if it will really go into effect next month after the break.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV, RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the lake or clean out your closet? RV wins! Putting the dishes away or taking the RV camping? RV wins! Cleaning the fridge or taking a trip to the beach? RV wins!
You might want to clean the fridge real quick because, mold.
We clean out the fridge, then take the RV out.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Hi, it's Julie from Logan. If there is sunshine in your soul today, it's because you know you're headed to Logan for a springtime getaway. Here's what you should do. Reserve your hotel room right now. Don't miss the original Baby Animal Days Festival at the American West Heritage Center April 10th through the 12th, including exotic animals and living history. Then it's farm animals only every Saturday in April and the first Saturday of May. cuddle all the baby animals like lambs, goats, piglets, bunnies, and chicks. You can say you're doing it for the kids and grandkids, but we won't tell if it's really just for you. Total cuteness overload. Next, head to the Cache Valley Fun Park for laser tag, roller skating, bowling, and arcade games. Take your family to Angie's for the kitchen sink, a mountainous banana split on steroids served in an actual sink. Pick up a life supply of goldfish crackers at the Pepperidge Farm factory, or see them hand-dipping chocolates at the Bluebird Candy Company. Head to Logan to cure your spring fever. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
Spring is the perfect time to refresh your home. And Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning is here to help. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, plus a free hallway for just $119. And for a whole home refresh, take 20% off upholstery cleaning. Unlike traditional cleaners, Zero-Res uses patented ZR water, a powerful cleaning solution that lifts dirt and grime without harsh chemicals or detergents. That means your carpets and upholstery stay cleaner, longer, and dry in hours, not days. It's safe for kids, pets, and the environment. Plus, every cleaning comes with the Zero-Res Gotta Love It guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, Zero-Res will re-clean for free within 30 days. Don't miss out on these limited time offers because spring cleaning starts now. Get started today at Zerores.com and mention KSL to lock in your deal. That's Zerores.com.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Hi, Susan. We haven't seen or heard from you.
Cold.
We would like to locate Joyce.
The mysteries that made podcast history
Cherie Warren disappeared.
are now together for free at KSLPodcasts.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, the host of Cold. Join me for Season 1, The Susan Powell Case Files. Season 2, Justice for Joyce. And Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Listen anytime for free at KSLPodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We are less than 1 month away from the Real ID deadline, which is on May 7th. The question remains, are they going to follow through this time?
Who doesn't have a Real ID already? Adam, I feel like we've been talking about this.
I thought they told us they were going to do this like 15 years ago, and you had to go by October. Like you had to get in and get that stupid star on your driver's license.
We've moved beyond Real ID for a long time, like, I don't know, more than a decade. I mean, we're at a point now where digital ID is now the thing. I just traveled out of the country and back for spring break with my family, and on our way out, we didn't even have to show our passports.
You used the digital ID?
We used digital ID. We
so
just
awesome.
looked at the camera and boom, walked right through TSA, right through security, good to go.
If I could wave my magic wand or be dictator for a day, it would be that the state of Utah would have a mobile wallet driver license.
So we did. We did for a minute, remember?
No.
Did you not participate in the pilot program?
No,
for
I was in the pilot. I have it on my phone.
Me
like
too,
I have this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm saying I want it in my Apple Wallet.
Yeah.
I want to be able to show it. I want, if I get pulled over or something, I want to be able to have an officer accept that, and I can ping it over to them. They can see it, and they can see. So Jeff Kaplan is showing me his driver license. I have that as well, but it's not in your mobile wallet. And there's not enough state agencies. There's not enough private entities that take it because our state won't accept it.
Yeah. And there was a dust-up at the legislature a couple years ago.
I remember
Adam.
it. My favorite quote of all time came from one of the protesters who said this was a UN Agenda 21 that the communists were trying to take us over or whatever their beef was. And someone said that was caught on the news, and I still have this clip on my phone. It said, hello, what are we, Australia? And I don't know what that means, but I remember laughing my head off. Like, if we're saying we're not a dictatorship, hello, what are we, Australia? And I'm like, that's not a dictatorship either. But this Real ID thing has been going on for 20 years. And I'm like, even if you haven't paid attention, I still feel like when you go to renew your driver's license sometime in that time frame, you would have that star, that Real ID.
Yeah. Now, maybe some states are behind Utah when it comes to the implementation of Real IDs for driver licenses, for state identification cards, and so on. We know that generally Utah's an innovator. We're ahead of the curve on these kinds of things. We're talking about this because starting on May 7th, 2025, that is the deadline. Adam, it's a deadline we supposedly have known about for 20 years. But that, nonetheless, is the deadline. May 7th this year, you will need a Real ID in order to board domestic flights and access certain federal facilities. A Real ID is defined as a driver's license or a state ID that meets federal security standards. It's pretty broad. Can you give us more detail?
Well, it also says that you won't be able to. So you won't be able to fly domestically, and you also cannot enter a nuclear power plant. So make sure that you get it to enter the nuclear power plant, even if you don't plan on flying. If that's more important to you, make sure you keep it.
Do you think nuclear power plants use that facial digital recognition software?
That would be awesome. I do love when I go to a restaurant and I can actually pull that out and have them scan my digital ID. I think that's awesome. I just wish it was in my flippin' Apple
I don't
wallet.
think it's technically legal, Adam. I still think it's a pilot project, so I'm not sure that you're in compliance with state law by doing that.
Well, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully none of them are listening. Okay, so the Points guy is someone I follow on Instagram and social media. He says, Nick Ewan says, it's crunch time. Anyone who's planning to fly in the U.S. in the next few months should do everything they can to get a Real ID compliant card by May 7th or travel with a passport, even domestically, he says. If you don't have a Real ID yet, you may face some hurdles as the deadline approaches. DMVs are already overwhelmed, and this is the article, it says DMVs. We don't use DMVs for driver's license in the state of Utah. We use driver's license divisions under Department of Public Safety.
DLDs.
The process is awesome.
Yeah.
By the way,
It's pretty smooth.
If you're trying to renew your license, it is not hard. Go on the driver's license department division's website or the Department of Public Safety's website. Super easy to navigate and really easy to renew your license. Most of the time, you don't even need to go in.
Yeah.
It's very quick. And if you do have to go in, last time I had to go in to renew mine, it took me 9 minutes after making a reservation.
Now, is that contingent upon perhaps how old you are, or in your case, perhaps how many traffic violations you've had, how many points are on your driver license? Are there certain stipulations that govern whether or not you can just renew online?
That may be. If they haven't seen your birth certificate yet, there was a law that was passed that allowed you to do everything online.
Okay.
So before they allowed you to do everything online, the entire state, the next time they renewed, had to bring in certain documents to prove they were who they said they were. And then the next time, the time after that, then they could renew much, much easier because the government already knew who you were.
Okay, everyone, to find out if you have a Real ID right now, we're going to start, listeners, with those of you who have a Utah driver's license. You can tell immediately if your driver's license qualifies as a Real ID. Pull it out, look at your driver's license right now. What you're looking for is a small star inside a gold circle with the outline of the state of Utah with the words UT USA in the upper right-hand corner. That's how you can tell for sure that you have a Real ID, not a fake ID. I guess it's not
Well, now
fake.
I'm looking at it, Taylor, and I'm seeing the star with the gold around it, but I'm not seeing the outline of the state of
I think that
Utah.
suffices. When did you get that driver license there,
It
Adam?
looked like I got it in 2022. Was the last time I renewed.
Okay, so I think you're good. I think the key is, listeners, Adam, you're looking for that small star inside the gold circle. If that is on your Utah driver license, you are good to go. You have a real ID, not a fake ID. I guess it's not a fake if it's not a real. We're confusing terms here. We're all over the place, Adam. Do you have a fake ID there with you?
I got a real ID. It
Okay.
doesn't look like me. I was much, much fatter in my picture. And so times have changed, so I may have to get another one anyway. But it looks like mine's going to suffice. And I think for Utah, everyone should be – I think most people should be okay. But check if you have that star because I think you have to renew every 8 years or so in the state of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, it's like good for 50 years. So I think there's a lot of states that are going to have different timelines that are going to be messed up. So if you're going to do a 20-year process and again, I thought it was earlier than this. It was, the Real ID Act was introduced in 2005. And it was an effort to tighten the nation's air travel security in the wake of the September 11th attacks. The Department of Homeland Security repeatedly pushed the deadline from its original 2008 date. So you guys, 2008 is when this thing was supposed to be done. So if this is not an advertisement for the government should be in charge of more stuff, they had a 3-year deadline for this puppy.
Yeah.
And it's now approaching 20 years. So you've had enough time. Go and make sure you get your real ID. Go and make sure you get your passport. Great to have on hand anyway as you're traveling through the airport.
Yeah. Speaking of passports, for the millennials out there who don't have a driver license, who just take Uber everywhere from their parents' basement and back, you don't have to have a driver's license, right, to get a real ID. A passport book or a passport card.
What about a state ID card? Can't you just go to the state and get a state ID card?
You can get a state-issued identification card. That will also qualify as a real ID. Yeah, but it has to have that star with the gold circle that indicates it is a real ID. And all of this, Adam, we know, is an attempt by the government to have enhanced security around identification to make sure that we are who our identification says we are.
I really think this is going to be a fun time. This is going to kind of coincide with Mike Lee's effort to abolish the TSA. I think it's going to be really fun. No,
does he have
I don't
any
think it
support?
will happen.
Listen, we all hate. Hate's a strong word. TSA is rough. Sometimes.
We all hate going through the line at the airport.
Correct.
It's the worst.
Yeah. We love our TSA agents. Grateful for their service, but the process is the worst.
Thanks so much for listening to Inside Sources. Next up is Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Stay with us for the rest of the week and on to Friday. Thanks for listening to Inside Sources. Have a great day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 68 degrees. KSL's top story, the stock market rejoices. Wall Street just experienced its single biggest rally in 5 years. The Dow up almost 3,000 points in one day. The NASDAQ gained 12%, all because the president put a pause on tariffs.